From VTV Channel 6 Studios in downtown Vernal, this is Local Point with your host, Chris Piner.
Welcome to Local Point, sponsored by Ashley Regional Medical Center. Our guests today come from working in the Ashley National Forest on the High Lake Stabilization Project. Brian Paul, project leader, and J.R. Kirkaldie, who is the Roosevelt Duchesne District Ranger. Welcome, you two. It's good to have anybody from the Forest Service back on Local Point.
Oh, good.
Now, today we're going to talk about this stabilization project. Brian, what exactly is that?
Well, the purpose of the High Lake Stabilization Project is to stabilize 13 mountain lakes in the High Uintas Wilderness. These lakes are no longer needed to store late-season irrigation water, and water rights have been transferred down to the enlarged Big Sandwash Reservoir.
So when you say stabilization, what are they unstable? What does that mean?
No, the lakes, most of them are stable or were stable. What we're doing is we're cutting a notch in the dams, and we're stabilizing that notch. So
bringing it down to a pretty much a natural lake level.
Lake level, okay.
Another purpose is that they are dams and they need maintenance work done on them. And they're located in the wilderness, and on the Forest Service and wilderness, we have rules about how you can maintain things, essentially.
Right.
It requires mechanical equipment a lot of times to maintain dams, and so we don't want mechanical equipment up in the wilderness, and so that's another reason for us to be doing this project. Is it'll stabilize these dams, which means
that's the stabilization part of it, though. All right, and it's no longer needed because the water is coming now from another source. Is that
no? The water's coming from the same source. It's
same
coming from
source,
the mountains
but now
around
from
the
a different
lakes,
reservoir.
but it's flowing down into a different reservoir where it will be stored below wilderness. Okay, and one benefit, as JR was speaking about, was that now we don't have to go back and have any motorized intrusion in wilderness beyond this project.
Right. So but the lakes themselves are still there. It's just a different level. And are these lakes that are used by the public other than what they were used for prior?
Their purpose is also not only to store late season irrigation water for agricultural purposes down in the Uinta Basin, but also for recreation purposes. Those lakes also have Colorado cutthroat, brook trout, so it's a fishery.
Oh,
so fishermen fish out of the lake.
There's recreation activities that happen related to water. People like to, do recreational activities around lakes and streams.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fishing. And
now, was this the project, though? At some point, it came to someone's attention that this was a worthy project or something you needed to do?
Well, the inception of the project began with right around the time of the 1984 Utah Wilderness Act, which established the High Uintas Wilderness here on the Ashley National Forest.
All right.
And because of the need to maintain these dams with heavy equipment and the need to continue to provide late season irrigation water, those two weren't really consistent with the use of wilderness.
Right. The equipment itself, bringing that in was...
that would be disturbing to the wilderness, and it's against our policies to be using equipment, mechanical
driving
equipment.
Big things.
And it would be something that would continue forever. Essentially, dams last a long time, so they'd be there a long time. So the fact that funding and things like that were brought down, so they did create the Big Sandwash, so all those water rights and all that water could be stored there versus up on the wilderness.
And that was my next question. So the Sandwash was created then after the fact.
It was created after the fact.
Right.
So there's the larger Central Utah project.
That was the project I was thinking of. That was right around the 80s as well.
Well, that was in 1992, there was a Central Utah Project Act. Okay, through that act, they created the Central Utah Project Completion Act Office, and they're still a part of this project and all other projects throughout Utah, dealing with water rights and water transfers and whatnot to get water to the proper locations and ensure that residents of Central Utah have water.
All right. I see. That makes sense.
The funding's coming down for this project's coming down through that channel also. So this isn't really Forest Service funds for the most part. We do provide some funds for our staff.
You're doing the footwork.
But we're doing the work.
You're making sure that it actually happens.
We're part of a team who's doing the work. It's actually a team of other organizations. Okay, we have the Central Utah Project Completion Act Office.
Right.
And also, in addition to that, we have the Utah Reclamation, Mitigation, and Conservation Commission.
Whew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say that backwards 3 times.
Thank you. I'm glad you said
Glad
that.
you said it once. That was impressive. But there's a whole host of people.
There's a whole
working
host. There's a
Bureau
central.
Reclamation,
Yeah, there's a Central Utah Water Conservancy District. All of them, including the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, they're part of the Department of Interior.
All right.
Okay, we have State Dam Safety. They're actually part of the Department of Water or of Natural Resources Water Division.
There's a whole team of people.
There's a whole team
most
of
of
people.
us don't even know what any of the. Yeah, but it's been quite a long project. I want to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll find out what lakes were stabilized and where the money came from. We'll talk a little more about that to do the project. Here's a word now from our sponsor, Ashley Regional Medical Center.
Welcome to Ashley Regional Medical Center. We have just added another amazing new piece of technology to our radiology department. This is the new Infinia Hawkeye 4, the best nuclear medicine technology available and the same you would find at tertiary hospitals along the Wasatch Front. This machine can help physicians determine both the nature and precise location of the disease by testing gallbladder function, performing cardiac perfusion studies, and diagnosing cancer. Ashley Regional Medical Center, continuing to bring the latest medical technology to northeastern Utah.
Welcome back. We're talking about the High Lakes Stabilization Project. Thanks again to our guests, Brian and JR, for joining us. It's always good to have you here from the Forest Service and find out what's going on.
It's good to
We've
be
been
here.
talking about well, thank you. And it's been a big project. It's not just the two of you, as we were saying in the last segment. Who else is involved in this? We might as well give them a little shout out.
Sure, yeah, it's been fairly complicated. In addition to the folks I already mentioned, I'd like to thank the Duchesne County Water Conservancy District, a local group, who helped with a lot of logistics, and they were crucial to this project. They provided operators to do the actual work, the hard work on the dam, as well as the Bureau of Reclamation that I mentioned previously. They also provided operators. We also have student crews that we've worked with in the past. Initially worked with the Student Conservation Association, the SCA, and we also work with the Utah Conservation Corps, who provide summer work experience for college students.
How about any scouts? Did you get any scouts in there putting in Eagle project hours?
I do get scouts doing Eagle projects, but not on this.
Not on this one. This was a big deal, though, wasn't it?
Yes,
Right.
it was.
And really,
we've had blasting going on and helicopters flying over, so
Right.
not exactly the perfect place.
This
Heavy
was
equipment
the big
operating.
boys.
Right.
Speaking of that, JR, tell me about this. I mean, this was not just a simple little effort to get in there. What did you do to? I mean, what's involved? What happened?
Well, we usually have to put in a closure. Well, we have to put in closure orders to close off an area because we're using large helicopters to lift large pallets weighing what, Brian? 14,000.
14,000 pounds, depending on the air temperature.
And
Wow.
so those go in there a few miles to. I think one of them was like 12 miles.
I think
maybe.
the furthest distance was about 12 to 13 miles.
So they're on a big long line, and you'll have some photos of that. But they're on a big long line, and we had about 29 pallets. We have to put all these pallets together, line them all up to go to the right place. Because last year we did 5 lakes, and this year we did 2. So they all got to be labeled where they're going to go. And
all right.
And then we also have a smaller helicopter that we transport people with, and so it's
Operators.
It's a major undertaking.
And again, this is you chose instead of driving or trying to trample anything.
Well, it was determined
Least
that
intrusive.
it would be least intrusive to fly the equipment and supply, most of the equipment and supplies up there, versus driving it up there.
We go through a process, a minimal tools process, where we have to get approved at a regional level that allows us to do things we normally don't do in wilderness, which is use helicopters and bring equipment up in there. But when we do that, we take a lot of time to study on how to make sure that we're really only using what mechanical equipment we absolutely have to have up there in the wilderness. And it's kind of what we did.
Yeah, and that's what you do, right? We kind of expect that and hope that from you.
Right. There was a lot of planning that was involved in that.
How long did this project take? Well, it's really pretty much finished now.
Planning for this project, for the implementation of this project, began before 2006, and then we go through a planning cycle every year.
Okay.
So from 2006 to present.
You've had phases then? Or is it-
Well,
Right.
it's important for you to know that for dam safety, and the state also certifies our dam for safety, we have to get this done in one season. We can't let it overwinter.
Oh.
So that's why we did it the way we did it, is
we're not going to deal with all 13 at once. We'll deal with what we can do in one season.
One season, because we can't leave it over winter. And so that, you know how cold and high it is up in the high Uinta as well. It leaves us about 3 months a year to try and get the whole project work for the year done on the ground.
And that also determines what is minimally necessary to do. Okay, so if we had 20 seasons, we might be able to do it all by hand. But we don't. We have one season.
So you're going to have to use some
equipment.
We don't want to leave an unstabilized dam in wilderness.
Right. Wow. So is there more work to do? I mean, have you finished this particular project, or is there
this is the end of this project? It was part of a smaller project in the Central Utah project, and this is the end. 13 lakes we've stabilized.
It's got to feel good, huh? To
finally reach the end of that. You don't even know how good that feels. That's a lot of work.
Well, I appreciate.
But it's very rewarding. Very rewarding work.
It's got to be. From 2006 to the present, and all the things that were involved, and knowing that you did it the right way.
Well, not only that, is we finished it up years in advance for a lot less money than I thought it was going to cost. And
even better.
So we did it very efficiently, and we are pretty happy about that.
I appreciate you coming and telling us today about the project and what you're doing, and I hope to have you back again and let us know what else you're involved in.
Great. And if people want further information, at the bottom of each drainage, we have at trailheads interpretive signage that tells the history of
they
the
can
lakes.
read about it and find out
or they
even
can call
more.
Our office.
They can call our office.
Or you can check us out here on YouTube. Thanks again for you guys
Thank
coming
you.
down. Thanks all of you for this week, and thanks for joining us. We hope to see you right here next week on Local Point.